Yo, what's up guys, Miniman of Steel here, back again with another video. Today, I will be discussing what if Russia never had a civil war. I explained that in my last video of my part 2 of America never joining World War I. So before I get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below if you want any more. Alright, so we all know the Bolshevik Revolution, right? The communists taking over the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union impacting history as we know it, making a lot of nations, noticeably like China, into communist. But what if Russia never had a civil war? This goes back all the way to the Russian-Japanese War of 1905. If any of you know of that war, of course. It was the war that would determine who would have control over the Korean peninsula. And of course, if you paid attention to history, it became Japan that ruled it. But inevitably, Russia had many little rebellions afterwards and humiliation. But what if this changed? I mean, it was just to see who would blink first. Russia did. But in this alternate timeline, Russia somehow manages to pull off something that's not an impossibility if you think about it. They send in enough troops, Tsar Nicholas listens to his best military tacticians and generals. Eventually, Korea is under the Russian Empire. And probably Japan as well. Maybe as a puppet state, or maybe annexed. Either way, it's still part of the Russian Empire. Which, even though the people at that point still hate the Tsar, Nicholas Romanov, of course, nobody wants to do a thing, and Lenin won't have the funds and the men to do anything about it. Afterwards, Russia becomes a peaceful nation. That is until, Prince it's the Prince of Austria-Hungary. Germany pulls in, Serbia, France, Russia, eventually, the United Kingdom, aka the British Empire, because of Belgium, and all, and World War I happens. Also, BTW, the original name was the Great War and the War to End All Wars, before World War I happened. Now, it's not, how do I pull it this way? It's weird to think about how Russia doesn't have a civil war. I mean, it only happens because Russia is failing to push the Germans, but isn't against the Austro-Hungarians. Now, Tsar Nicholas manages to industrialize the nation and prepare for his military because he knew something like this would happen. So, Russia, despite what happens historically, manages to eventually push Germany back because the Germans weren't prepared for Russia's industrialization and quick mobilization to its western borders. Germany is being pushed back, same with Austria-Hungary. Turkey, aka the Ottoman Empire, is also being pushed back, which is a huge success for the Russians, seeing how they could have lost and had a revolution, of course. Eventually, the Central Powers lose, like I said in my last video, and Russia expands its western lands. And Russia is doing better than just fine for the 1910s. And it goes on even better in the 1920s. The Roaring Twenties, if any of you know about that, which happened like 100 years ago. But oh no, 1930s hit, Great Depression. Poop. Although Russia does get hit by the Great Depression in this alternative timeline, it doesn't get hit really bad like every other nation, especially the United States. But that's because of its industrialization. Eventually Russia gets out of its depression, economic depression, and quicker than Germany did. But oh no, Adolf Hitler, the mustache Austrian man. No, he's not German. He's Austrian, if any of you didn't know that, by the way. And of course, World War II begins with the Germans attacking the Polish. Now, Russia, at the end of World War I, saw Poland as an independent Slavic state and formed an alliance with the Polish in case of any foreign nation would ever attack it, specifically the Germans, of course. And, of course, the Russians prepared for this. Germany, historically, wins and gives the rest to the Russian Soviets. But in this alternative timeline, Poland actually has a superpower defending it. Although Poland does get pushed back out into Russia, the remaining Polish forces are on the other side of Russian land, thanks to Russia being smart and making several military bunkers across the border. But oh no, Germany annexes more land like Denmark and Norway, and quickly he sweeps through France with their help of the Italians and take more lands of the Balkans. Britain is pushed back to the waters of the Atlantic. Eventually, Britain is unable to get back onto European lands, so that means Russia is the only free nation left against the Germans. And Italians, of course. Japan joins the war, invades China, eventually takes it, as well as all the Pacific Islands, of course, and they want to take over Russia as well, so they join the Axis powers. Eventually, Japan makes the dumbest move by attacking Pearl Harbor of Hawaii, which back then used to be American territory, but now is an American state. America joins the war, the Allied powers push the Germans and Italians, thus defeating the Axis in Europe. And Japan, historically speaking, and still in this alternative timeline, gets nuked, thus ending World War I. Now, historically speaking, the Cold War happens a few years after World War II because Russia, aka the Soviet Union, wants more land and spread its influence. And America doesn't like that. But in this alternative timeline, Russia decides to form an alliance with the United States, and the two powers become the strongest nations on this planet. One side a federal constitutional democracy, and the other a how do I put it this way? A monarchist nation that elected a prime minister, or sharing power with the monarch king, Tsar Nicholas. And the world is now in peace, thanks to the two powers spreading freedom across the globe. Alright folks, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below if you want any more. So, in my next video, I will be discussing what if slavery never existed here in the United States. Now I know some of you might get upset, oh, I'm talking about slavery. But I'm talking about what if America never had slavery, where all men are actually equal in the United States after the American Revolution. Alright, see y'all in the next video.